Hello to all you guys out there in YouTube land. Yes, it's me, DR, wobbling away. I need to get my tripod back out. Now, the reason for this video is, I know, it's a bit disappointing for me in many different ways and thoughts and feelings, and I've got lots of things going through my head around this. So I'm going to try and be as coherent as possible. But I'm making this video on the back of the reaction, the event of the two black men being arrested in a Starbucks in Philadelphia. Now, for those of people who don't know what happened, two people entered into a Starbucks in the city centre of Philadelphia. They just went in and sat down, and looking at events and looking at different the different coverage of it, it appears they were in the Starbucks for approximately 2 minutes. Now, there are competing different interpretations, but I'm getting mine from a combination of places like the Daily Mail and the Guardian and things like that. So I could be wrong, I could be right, but I'm just picking up on the different coverages that come across. If you listen to different vloggers, some neglect to cover this piece of information, and some do cover it in their own slanted way. So some people have said they declined, some people have said they refused to purchase anything. The store manager took this refusal, declination, lack of intention of buying anything. I don't know how you can identify the lack of intention. I'm going to look at it from a very different slant, being someone who's participated in this activity, gone into a Starbucks, sat down for a couple of minutes with the intention of buying something later. Maybe I might just be aware that when I go into these people, the threat level potentially kind of goes up. So I need to make it very, very clear, crystal clear of my intentions in the Starbucks. Some people don't. I've seen people not do this. Anyway, the store manager then went and called the police, stating the fact as she saw it, as there were two men in her premises not purchasing anything, and they essentially were committing the crime of loitering. The police then came, spoke to the gentleman for a couple of minutes, and then they were arrested. And you can find the coverage online. You can find the footage online. It's there. It's available. You can see it. And that's where it kind of comes in. Now, the reaction to this, I think, because of social media, because of the social tensions, have been, I don't know, quite quick. I mean, the reaction to Starbucks closed their stores for further training around this issue, and then out came the opinion pieces, various different types, slanted in various different ways. So here we go. Here I'm going to add to my opinions to the forefront. Now, some people are calling it, some people are from one side are saying it's extreme level of bias. I don't necessarily see it like that, but then you've got some people on another side who are saying nothing was wrong, and actually I think they're looking at it from their own bias, and they're hiding behind the law, because they're saying legally everybody was in the right, and that's their defensive function. So I'm going to argue against that first, because that's the one I say is probably most polar opposite to my opinion, because that argument doesn't get to the root of what's happening. It's a cop out. It's a cop out from people who typically cop out. They were legally, no one did anything wrong. Okay, so if we're in the 1960s and there's someone sitting on a bus, legally, no one's done anything wrong. But that's not an argument we'd use nowadays. I think anyone once posed in that legally that someone's done something wrong isn't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily get to the heart of should it have happened. Is it morally right? Is it a society that we would want to have? Um, and anyone who does any, and I just literally typed in what is loitering in a search engine and came to an Ask an American thread on Reddit where they turn around and stated some of the historical backgrounds around loitering and loitering rules. And maybe I'll put a link to that. But guess what, guys? You can quite easily type "what is loitering" because I was actually thought when I make this video, I really want to understand what it is. And loitering is, it's staying something with the intent to do nothing. And I first asked the question, and I couldn't really find this out in any of the responses I had. The two gentlemen were in the coffee house waiting for a coffee, or waiting for their friend, and they hadn't purchased anything yet. But strangely enough, I didn't know if anyone asked them what their intentions were. Did they ask them, would you intend to purchase? Would you be a customer? Something I've had when I've worked in hospitality. I've had people walk in and instead of saying you haven't purchased anything and being accusational, because I've seen that happen and that quickly goes downhill. Me as the manager of the venue, I stop and I ask, "Oh, so what are you doing? Can I get you something?" No. "Oh, you're waiting for someone." I spark up a conversation. I didn't see in any coverage of this event any intention to engage behind there. So yes, legally, nobody did anything wrong. Legally, nobody did anything wrong. But there's plenty of times where legally, no one doing anything wrong. People following the legal process happens, but morally, something different has happened. And I think that's what's happened in this case. That it's been visually documented that there are conditions where people do things. And I've seen all the things from one side. Oh, so now we're allowed to go into coffee shops and sit down. No, I don't think that's the case. But I think some intentions from the party who's using that legal side to find out what's going on. I think there needs to be some of that. I think there needs to be some engagement. From my perspective, what happened was two people walked into a venue. Someone looked and went, and I don't care what colour the people are, but two people went into a venue. They looked at that person, and the person who had the power decided they were going to make a call. And I've been in a situation where I've had people day after day for years come in. I wouldn't assume because two people of any race came in that two people of the same race coming in and doing similar things had the same intentions. And that's where we're really talking about here. Yeah, I'd agree. And I can see legally people all follow the process. But the world isn't just about following the process. We teach customer service all the time. It's not just about doing the right thing, follow the process. I press the button. Sometimes we want people to say, actually, what's the right thing to do? And the right thing sometimes is to give people the benefit of the doubt. If they were in there for 20 minutes, and I don't know what the cut-off point might be, 30 minutes, maybe. Was it busy? Didn't seem it from the videos. And also, the response is overkill. Two people waiting in a coffee shop, and everyone's like, they were asked to leave, but they got arrested. How many times have you seen people doing things wrong and not being arrested? The amount of times I've been out on a weekend with people and it breaks into a fight where actual crime's been grievous bodily harm, actual bodily harm, and nobody's been arrested. What has been is calm down the situation. That's not what's happened in this case. The extremes of following the process has led to two people spending 8 hours incarcerated. And I love how people pass this off. It's flippant. 8 hours for sitting in a coffee shop, for loitering. Something tells me that if people are actually sitting there going, this is the right thing to do, this is the moral thing that should happen, this is a consequence of this, then there's a problem here. And that's on my answer on that side. Now, on the other side, to more the liberal-minded people, I think, from my perspective, those two people should have also thought about the common sense approach. You know? Sometimes from both sides, and this is where people who defend the manager might want to look at the person, the two people. Maybe they've dealt with so many issues. Maybe they've dealt with condemnation and accusation and the looks. Sometimes you want to make a stand sometimes, and maybe this was the point they made a stand. I think that was a bit of an error. I think they understand that now, and I'm hoping that actually they've learned. Maybe they've learned to make a stand at more times, because with the amount of video cameras, they've learned the power of that, the power of exposure. And some people are getting annoyed now. Oh my God, they're fighting for their rights. Or they're fighting to actually just sit in a coffee shop. Just the other day, I went into a coffee shop and sat down and didn't buy anything. Should I have been arrested? Should anyone, not just by racial lines, but anyone be arrested for going into a coffee shop? I think that's my real feelings around this. I think, you can teach all of the... And I honestly, I think it's more about people understanding about how to treat customers. It's more about people understanding that the person whose role it was, who was employed to look out a shop, failed in their responsibilities, because actually it's not just about following the letter of the law. I could do that all the time, and then a reaction like this happens. So now we've had this major overreaction in terms of two people sitting in a coffee shop, and I also think now there's been a major overreaction in the response of that, and it's just accelerating like a spiral, just getting larger and larger, picking up more and more momentum, and that's what we're getting at the moment. I would, if I was in that situation, and I've left coffee shops because there's more coffee shops around. That would be my approach to that situation. If someone reproached me from that, and I say to everyone on the far left, if someone, you see, there is a degree of personal responsibility here. You don't have a right to be in a coffee shop. Find another coffee shop. That's my reaction to that. I just find it funny about the bandwagoners and how when the people of both sides are accusing these people of overreacting, but equally overreacting with their own vitriol and their own points of view. I find that really fascinating, how both sides are being pointing at the other side, going, you're overreacting. And in a sense, overreacting, over-egging the situation with their own little biases. I mean, should I be surprised? No. It happens. It's YouTube. But I think looking at this with a bit more of an even mind from both points of view, you can't just hide behind the law. You need to understand that something happened here that wasn't about the law, and that's being used as a cover. But there's also the side to say, you know what? Be nice to people. Don't be a douche. Don't be an idiot. Someone asks you to even feel... Sometimes you just got to go with it, because the world is about compromise. And you do not have a divine right to be in a establishment. It's not a park. And you even get kicked out of parks. You don't have a divine right for these things. So I kind of, from both points of view, I find this fascinating watching it, though. And people have asked me about my opinion. That's my opinion. I think you can't hide behind the law and you don't have a divine right. And that's my argument to both sides. So I am really, really curious, actually, as to your point of view on this as well. I'm, as I said, people expect me to have, this far left opinion on it. And I don't think I do. But at the same point, I don't agree with the far right opinion, and I'm not a centrist. I have no idea what political persuasion you might give me, but I'm really curious as to your thoughts on what happened and what went on. I think what we've had is a major overreaction to a situation, and then people hiding behind the law. But also, what you've got is other people using it to their advantage. I mean, someone asks you to go if you're not welcome, sometimes it's wise to just get up and go. What are you fighting for in that particular time and particular situation? But also, the process is buggered. Because end of the day, if the right response to sitting in a Starbucks for 2 minutes waiting for a friend and not purchasing anything is being arrested and held for 8 hours, then maybe there's something wrong with the process. Anyway, this is DR saying, type your stuff in a doobly-doo. If I get time, I'll put links around, but you can quite happily Google things, because you know what? The world is your oyster, and you're watching me on an electronic device. So you do have the capacity to do that. Anyway, this is DR saying peace out. Have a safe journey where you're heading. Enjoy the sunshine if you're in the UK, and I hope it's sunny where you guys are. Bye! Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content and want to know as soon as I post a new video, follow me on Twitter at Duel_RYT. That's Duel_RYT for more of my thoughts, as well as updates as soon as each new video is released.